Today we're going to be talking about the microphone that I've been using for the past few videos, the TZ Audio Stellar X2. Let's get into it. Alright, so right off the bat, this video is aimed more towards YouTubers, podcasters, things like that, things that I'm experienced with here, not people who are so much deeply experienced in sound engineering or know all the deeper technical tidbits of microphones. I myself am admittedly not that experienced with dedicated hands-on deep audio work. Obviously, I use mics and I use audio from day to day in both personal and professional use. I'm often on small crew or almost non-existent crew shoots, so I'm both camera and audio myself. So I know what I like when I hear it, and that's about kind of the line where I draw my experience. But again, for people who are using it in the same way, that's who this video is for. So TZ Audio, or Tech Zone Audio, is a company from California that seems to have put a lot of love into this microphone, the Stellar X2, as well as its kind of partner, the vintage version, which I don't have here at the moment, unfortunately. The Stellar X2 is a large capsule condenser microphone that they claim has a very smooth sound without any tinny harshness. I personally think that's true from what I've heard so far. It's very clean and clear, and I guess you could say smooth without any of that harshness, and even without tweaking the EQ, I do like the sound that's coming out of this microphone. It's not overly harsh on that high end, and of course there's no major problems with plosives or sibilants or anything that you wouldn't expect with a microphone like this. But of course, I'm using it in this video, so you can hear for yourself. I'm not going to do anything to the audio. It's raw right out of the recorder here, so you can hear it for yourself and make your own judgments. As you may have noticed, I'm also recording with a Shure SM7B here, right side by side with this, with the cloud lifter to boost its very quiet signal, just to give it a fighting chance, so to speak. So I will cut back and forth between these two. I've got the levels matched as equally as I could, about 20 centimeters from my mouth, so you can hear side by side really how these two microphones compare, because this is really a go-to in this setup for a lot of people. So I think it'll be a good comparison. Even with that cloud lifter to boost the signal on the Shure SM7B though, I do need more gain on the Zoom F4, which I'm recording with, to get these levels equal. So again, on the Zoom F4, for example, I'm recording with the X2 set at around 11 o'clock on that gain dial, with the SM7B closer to about 1 o'clock. Now, just to be fair, in terms of a sound sample, I'll get my daughter here to talk for a moment, just so you can hear how a different voice sounds with these two microphones.
Hi, my name is Alisa. I'm 6 years old. My favorite Pokemon is Eevee. My favorite color is red and yellow.
Not pink?
And pink. I really like eating tomato.
So with her voice, I think that these two microphones actually sound very, very similar. She was about 20 centimeters away from the mics, just like I am here, and listening back to them with headphones, I really can't hear too much of a difference. There might be a little bit more of that warmth in the bottom end still, but of course her voice is higher, so I think it's less noticeable. So again, depending on your voice, the difference between these may or may not be more or less significant. So now, with my voice, here's a back-to-back comparison of these two microphones. I'll cut back and forth here. And from what I can hear, the X2, the Stellar X2, has a little bit more warmth in that mid to low end, which shows up more in my voice, especially at this distance. While the SM7B, with that presence boost that's built into the microphone turned on, it does have a little bit more of that presence in the higher end, where you might want to boost that up a little bit with the EQ on the X2. So just straight out of the microphone, out of the recorder, with that presence boost, the SM7B does have that advantage, I think, in the high end, while the X2 has a little bit more warmth to it. I've gone ahead and turned off the presence boost in the SM7B, and with these settings, I think that overall these mics do sound a lot more similar. The X2 still does have a little bit more of that warmth in the mid to low range, at least to my ear, but other than that, I think these mics sound very similar with these settings. So I've got the presence boost back on now, and I'm up really close, maybe 5 centimeters away, like you might see on a lot of podcasts, for example. I actually feel like the difference between these two microphones, even with that presence boost turned back on the SM7B, is less noticeable at this distance. Again, you can hear it yourself. Let me know, what do you think? If you're recording instruments or vocals with these mics, I've heard that the X2 does wonderfully, but I'm not as experienced in that type of recording, so I'm going to stick to what I know best. And hopefully by now you've got a little bit of a feel for the sound in these two microphones and how they compare to each other. Anyway, like I said, they have this and a vintage version for $70 more with a slightly different sound profile, and both come in matched pairs of two mics as well. I'm actually very curious how they sound side by side in this type of setting, and I hope that I can do a test like that in the future. The Stellar X2 comes in at $200, well, technically $199.99, but that is cheaper than a lot of the other competitors on the market. Of course, the Shure SM7B is double the price, even without the cloud lifter, which is pretty much necessary to use it. Even something like the Rode NT1A, which I had for a while, and I honestly like this more, plus it's smaller. The Rode NT1A still does cost more than the Stellar X2. As for build quality and feel, this is not something that should come this late in the video, I apologize, but I can easily say it's amazing. It's small, but it's got some weight to it, and there's really not a whole lot to say besides it's very, very nicely made and well presented. It comes in a hard case with the mic, a foam cover, a shock mount, and a soft pouch. Again, everything feels very, very nice. It really does, I'm not just saying that. As far as the techie specs go, I'm not super into that. It's not what this video is about, but I'll put them up on screen for you to read if you're interested. It's all on the website anyway, but this is a cardioid pickup pattern, and if you haven't figured it out yet, it's an XLR microphone that does require 48-volt phantom power. Finally, these are both very quiet microphones, but let's take a quick listen to some self-noise, some silence, at least as silent as I can get it. This is not a perfect environment. And by the way, I've been using this light here, obviously, which does have a fan in it. So if you hear that during the video, that's what that is. For the silence test, I'll turn that off so that way it's as silent as it can possibly be. But let's just take a look at how these sound with these same levels, so that way my voice is coming in at about the same point. So do I like this mic? Yes, obviously. It's an incredibly well-made, balanced, and smooth sounding microphone for just $200. Again, that's half the price of the Shure SM7B. And as far as the audio goes, they sound extremely similar. There's little differences. Maybe the Shure SM7B wins with that presence boost, but the warmth of the X2 is really, really nice. Again, it may depend on your voice, may depend on the atmosphere or a whole bunch of other things, but generally speaking, the audio quality from this microphone is stellar. No pun intended. I also was saying that the Shure SM7B does have that presence boost plus a low cut filter built in. X2 has absolutely nothing extra, it's just a mic. But with that, it's really hard to justify double the price for the Shure SM7B. This is of course a go-to microphone for a lot of people, but the Stellar X2 does wonderfully next to it, and I think that for a lot of people this is going to be an amazingly great choice for a microphone in this type of setup. I could not recommend it more highly. Again, hopefully I can get my hand on the vintage version and we'll see how those compare to each other, but for now this is a great mic that I would highly recommend for somebody who's looking for something in this style. But if you have any questions or comments, as always, please do leave those down below and I will do my best to get back to you. If you liked this video or found it helpful, please do consider giving it a thumbs up, sharing, subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.